Hi, this is Lorraine, and I'm doing another video. If you'll give me a second to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. Okay, so first, there's construction going on right now. It never stops. I live in Seattle proper, in the city of Seattle proper, and literally every day we have construction, and it doesn't stop. But neither do I. So, unless divinely guided. So, there you go. So I just wanted to say I note that normally once I start the video, I'm just focused and receiving the messages through energy and sharing that, and I lose track of it, but it might bother you, so I apologize if that's the case. Yesterday, so Saturday, Sunday, and this morning, I had very strong messages, and they're very, a couple of them are messages I've sent before, but every time those same messages come through again, there's additional information provided, but also it's because it needs to be said again. Okay, and so I'm gonna start with the vision. So I think it was in my last video, maybe the video before that, I talked about the vision I had with me in the white clothing with the red stripe down the side of the clothing, as well as the massive white headdress that went down to the heels of my feet with the red band that held the feathers together, and the little boy that I presented to the chief of the tribe as the next chief of that tribe, but only he could see my face. Nobody else could. And this was like the second part of a previous vision I had with the little boy, where I was in the same clothes and I saw him on his reservation, and I went up to him and I whispered in his ear that he would be the next chief of his tribe, but that was only for him to be aware of, and I let him know that he would grow into that role. The second vision was about presenting him to that chief to let him know that he would be the next chief of their tribe. And this is the little boy, about 4 years old, I would say. And only the chief could see me. Not anybody else could identify me. They could see me ride in on the horse with the little boy, but they couldn't identify my face. And I had said that the little boy was wearing like a traditional, like very traditional, old style, what I would consider Native American garb for a little boy, with my knowledge of their history based on what I learned in school. So I'm not raised in a Native American culture, so I can just, my frame of reference is what I've seen in museums and school and history books. And so he was in a white, although normally I wouldn't see them in white. I would traditionally see tan, like fabric or leather. This boy was in a white leather, not a loincloth, but it was a leather piece of fabric that covered the front and back of him, like a loincloth would. And it was tied on the sides. And then I said he had worn a top, I wanted to say scantily clad, meaning just not a lot of fabric, but it really wasn't fabric. And so I was kind of tied up in how to describe what he had on top. And I could tell it was like necklaces, but I couldn't really see it too clearly. But this weekend it was very clear that the little boy had on several necklaces. They were really big beads, like this big, white beads. They were elongated, so they were oval in shape and round. And they were strung on a necklace, and they had spacers in between. And then he had a necklace with smaller stones that looked like turquoise. And they were also strung around on a chain or on a piece of leather on something and hung around his neck. And the white beads were really big and bulky on this little boy, so they covered up a lot of his chest. And then along with that second string of turquoise, it covered up a lot of his chest. But I want to say there's other stuff going on, like small pieces of fabric underneath, but I don't have a clear vision of that. And then in between the stones, I couldn't see if they were spacers, like some type of a spacer, but they were like dark, I would describe them like little O-rings maybe, in between the stones. And I can't remember off the top of my head. I did write down what the stones were. The large white beads represent lifetimes. The turquoise beads are energies. The black spacers represent separation. The necklace itself, the round piece of cloth tied together with those beads on it, represents continuity. And so as I am having this experience in the morning when I woke up, what comes to me is lifetimes. And what comes to me is the Dalai Lama. I think, and I could be wrong, but what I remember learning from reading in the past is that they try to find an incarnation of a previous Dalai Lama, right? And then when they find that person as a child, they're brought to the temple where they worship, and he is raised to be the next Dalai Lama. So they identify the same soul over and over to head their religious sect, right? And what was shared with me about this little boy was he is not a reincarnation of any individual being or person on this world. He is an incarnation of a vibration. He is a manifestation of many energies within one body. He is a manifestation of many experiences over many lifetimes. And if I may, even though this message didn't come in, I feel like many souls, many experiences, many worlds brought together within this little boy, and they create a vibration. Okay, so it's no one person, no one soul's incarnations over lifetimes on different worlds. This is many, many beings, energies, vibrations, experiences culminating and manifesting in this child. Okay, and then what comes to me next is that when we perceive, okay, I'm going to go back a minute. I had a friend who was trying to become a Freemason. I don't know what goes into that process, but one of the things he said to me was that they tapped into his past lives, and he was rejected and he didn't know why. And so when I was having this vision of this little boy and I was getting that information about Dalai Lama, or making that comparison or connection, making that connection, what the information that came in is, when you seek out a soul, an individual who is incarnated many times to take on the same role, first of all, it stagnates. Okay, that soul doesn't grow. It stagnates. The other thing is, potentially this could be positive or negative. This can go in a positive direction or a negative direction. You can determine over lifetimes if that soul, that energy can be manipulated. Okay? And then that energy, that person that's incarnated on this world or any other world, can be manipulated by this unbalanced energy. Okay? The same thing is true for a positive or positive energy. Well, there's balance and unbalance. I try to stay away from positive and negative because there is such a thing as toxic positivity. Okay? And either way, toxic negativity or toxic positivity can be manipulated and used to harm others. And so if you're always approaching from a balanced state, you maintain that divine, that consciousness of balance that is rooted in that source energy. Because at its source, divinity is unity. The divine consciousness is unity. It's one thing. It's not light and dark. It's not left and right. It's not love and hate. It's all things combined. All things combined. There isn't balance because there doesn't need to be balance, because everything is unified as one. But from this perspective, think of it as all energy being balanced. Okay? So when we live from a balanced place, from this plane of existence, it's the closest we can get to being in the I am state from this plane of existence. Okay? So when we're talking about seeking and finding souls and tapping into past lives, when we tap into past lives, we can use that information. Someone can use that information to manipulate that person because they know their strengths and weaknesses from past life. Okay? And I just thought of someone who told me that someone started tapping into their past lives without permission. It upset me greatly, and I let that person know that that is not allowed. When someone starts tapping into your past lives without asking you for permission and starts telling you about those lives, they're trying to elicit information from you. Okay? They're trying to elicit information from you that would benefit them. Okay? And it's a violation of your privacy, and it's a violation of universal law. It's not allowed. Anytime I start receiving information about someone, I ask permission if I can share that information or if I can talk to them about that information. Always. If I do not do that, I open myself up to karmic consequences of sharing that information or utilizing that information in a way that's harmful to others. Whether it could be a positive outcome or a negative outcome. But I have tied myself karmically to that person and to that information. Okay? So I want to get back to this past life. When we seek, or some organization or some person seeks out past life information to utilize that information, is most likely a tool to use that information to manipulate a circumstance, a situation, or a person, an individual, or an organization, right? So when I talk about the Native American boy that is being manifested or is born and will take over this tribe. He will become the chief. He is no one soul. He is no one experience. He is no one lifetime. He's a culmination of many, and he is not any one thing. He is a vibration. He is a vibration that has been selected to incarnate on this world for a purpose. Okay? And that energy, because it's so diversified, cannot be manipulated. What often happens in these circumstances is that you can't trace a lineage. You can't trace someone, something tapping into this source energy, trying to manipulate, cannot identify any one thing about this individual other than it vibrates at a certain level. Okay? And that information is encoded. It's protected with the keys and codes, okay, the locks. And I've said in the past, the dragons protect the fields of Mother Earth, the planets, us, each individually, they protect our fields. And unicorns carry the keys and codes. Okay? So together, they are very powerful energies of protection. Okay? And they protect those vibrations, those fields, and they do it with these keys and codes. And they can be in DNA, they can be in fields, they can be in vibration. It's very simple, but also it can be very complex. If there's an energy trying to manipulate divine consciousness, energy, they are trying to pick it apart any way they can to find any way to break through, break down, break into those fields, okay? Break into that DNA. And they need to access the keys and codes, or they try to access the keys and codes to do that. And so this little boy, in and of itself, his makeup is our keys and codes. The diversity of his vibration, the diversity of his experiences, because they aren't any one experience, is complex and a product of divine creation. Okay? We all are. But what that tells me is this little boy's purpose is very profound. And he is unique in his makeup. Okay? He was sent down here for a purpose. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything, because I kind of went off of, I added so much more than what I wrote down. So what I wanted to add is, when you keep a soul in a role, like if someone's always born a religious leader, or if someone's always born a teacher, or if someone's always born a soldier, those souls become stagnant because they're not growing, they're not changing, they're not learning. And this experience, all our experiences are meant to help us grow and develop. Okay? And what happens is those souls become blocks in the divine consciousness. Okay? They're blocks. The same way that addiction is a block. Okay, so addiction in many cases, so I'm going to talk about personal experience from my brothers. A lot of their, in my opinion, from what I observed a lot in our lives, is a lot of their addiction is rooted in the abuse they suffered from their biological father as children, whether or not they are conscious of those experiences. The one brother above me was very young, so a lot of it I think is rooted in his subconscious, but my oldest brother, he was old enough to remember. And they also carried that addiction gene. But it kind of quells the fears, the anxieties of the insecurities that were instilled in them as children. Okay? And so they use that to escape those emotions. that they're feeling in the moment. Okay, so they drink or do drugs to escape the pain, right? And so they sit in this cycle of addiction trying to escape the pain. And it keeps them in this cycle of addiction, okay? It's the same thing with the soul. When they stay in these just single-minded roles, doing the same thing over and over, they get stuck in these blocks. And it doesn't even just have to be religious leader. It can be roles of self-hate or harming others, of greed, of sloth, the 7 deadly sins. Okay, so you can be in any role in your life, but if in that role you're always seeking more money, greed, more land, more sex, you are stuck in a cycle of thinking. It's like a single-minded thought that keeps running through you. That's addiction. So these souls that get stuck in these lifetimes of doing harm to themselves or others are blocks in the divine consciousness. Okay? And so we always work together. That's our goal. And you see it in the most compassionate people on this world, trying to help others to break out of their cycles. Healers, trying to help others to break out of their cycles. That's what we're here for. We're here to help each other break out of our cycles here on this planet. But then once we break out of our cycles here on this planet, we break out of those cycles in our lifetimes, over many lifetimes. Okay? We break, and they call that generational karma. So if we find ourselves in the same cycles or lifetime after lifetime, when we break those cycles, we break generational karma. Okay, and we can start anew. And that's why we're here. We're here to help each other on our good days and our bad, help us to break out of cycles, learn and grow, so we can reconcile and accept and know our true divine selves and unify with divine consciousness. Okay? Become once again our whole selves. Okay? The other thing is, I keep on feeling really deeply, there's a lot going on this year, and energetically and physically. And so it came in really strong is with soldiers. It could be any soldier, but I always tap into this special forces energy, this special trained energy, because one of the messages that came in this week, which was very strong, was the uniqueness of DNA. Not everybody's DNA is the same. And there are people that have energies that have been put on this world for specific tasks. And not everybody can tolerate some of the things that are occurring and some of the things that need to be addressed. And so one of the things I've said in past videos is the most profound change happens from the higher realms. There is an effect on the energy here on this planet eventually. But the message that came in is, as much as it upsets me to say it, I feel deeply that there is at this moment a lot of things happening that we are unaware of, and there is a lot of aggressive military action taking place. And And I'm just going to reiterate what I've said in the past, which is when you tap into your heart and you tap into that divine feminine part of yourself, that is Sekhmet. Holy rage, the divine feminine that ends wars and brings home lost children. When you tap into that part of yourself, even though you're acting in an aggressive way to try to help free these, I'm going to use the children that have been abducted. When you tap into that aggressive part of yourself to help free these children, one of the things you need to remember is that you're tapping into, when you engage someone in an aggressive manner, you're trained to do that, but you also must protect yourself in order to fulfill your duty, your action, whatever it is you're trying to do, your mission. And that part of you that's protecting yourself is protecting your inner child. That part of you that fights aggressively in a way that most people can't even imagine because they've never experienced it before, that aggression that can't even be reenacted in a movie because it's not real, right? The emotions aren't real. The experience isn't real. That part of you that's lashing out is the divine feminine within you, protecting your inner child, protecting that part of you that you will keep safe at any cost. And so that part of you loves yourself deeply. That's how much you love yourself. You will do anything to protect yourself, even if you don't know it, even if it's so deep in your subconscious because you've been trained in a certain way. At the very root, at the foundation of everything that you are, is that child that defines you, that tells you who you are, that helps you. And that's the part of you that defends yourself with a ferocity and a visceral quality that most people probably can't even relate to. And it's that part of you that drives forward to protect those who cannot protect themselves, like our children. Okay? And so it's really important, in order to maintain balanced energy and to mitigate any karmic consequences, that you tap into that part of yourself as you move forward. Okay? I talk about maintaining clear, centered, and balanced energy. And all those things help maintain the balance you need to tap into that part of your heart, that part of yourself, in order to move forward from your heart. And I think that sounds like a paradox. I feel like that sounds like a paradox, but it's true. When we can release the anger, fear, resentment, bitterness in life, that whatever those things, whatever bring those things into your consciousness, the need for vengeance or revenge, when we can release those things but still move forward from this place to help protect our children, we've grown massively from a spiritual place. We've grown massively energetically, and it's a lot of work. But right now, what the message that comes in very strong is that from this 3D level, there is a need to defend. There is a need to defend our children and people who cannot defend themselves. It's very strong. Okay, that message comes in very strong, and it's really upsetting for me because I worked so much with energy and consciousness in the fields, but this comes in very strong. But what needs to be reinforced is that you tapping into your heart that way, that's what creates the change in the higher realms, that helps create the change that we need on this planet. It's the love inside your heart, in your body, in your energy field, in your vibration, that you tap into and that you share with the world around you when you go and try to help those children, those people who need you to help them because there's nobody else. When you share that love, because that comes from that divine feminine part of yourselves. We both carry, all of us, male and female, carry divine masculine and divine feminine energy within us. When you share that love not only transitions this planet, it shifts the energy in the higher realms, it shifts the energy on this planet, and it helps create the change but that we need, but that energy also creates a field of protection around you. Okay, that energy also creates a field of protection around you. It's not the weapons that protect you. It's the love that you carry in you, that you project out from your consciousness, from your heart, from every fiber of your being, that protects you. Everything else is just a tool. Okay? And so the question that I always ask, and I say a lot, and I type in comments on social media and stuff, is what do you put your faith in? What do you put your faith in? What do you put your faith in? What will bring you food when there is no food? What will bring you shelter when there is no shelter? What will bring you comfort when there's no one to comfort you? For me, I put all my faith in divine consciousness. I put all my faith in divine source energy, in the creator of all things, God, whatever you want to call it. I put my faith in that, and I always listen to my intuition, and I always drive forward from that place. Always. I always tap into that, and I always listen to it, and I always trust that it'll bring me what I need. I sit in the flow of energy, and I allow myself to move with it, and I act on divine guidance. And when I say I sit in the flow of energy, I know it may seem hard to understand what that means, but this morning I had a vision that helped me maybe help try to explain it. And I had a vision of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder. And there's the scene where they go down the chocolate river in that really pretty boat. Everybody's on the boat, and then they go into the tunnel, and then the boat starts going faster. But that's not really here or there. It's more about the video, the film that's on the walls, right? So when I talk about sitting in the flow of energy, I allow things to happen as they will. But the video or the film on the walls is like watching life experiences happen around me. Okay? I'm not necessarily within that. Okay? When I live in the flow of energy, I allow my field of energy to protect me. I allow the divine consciousness to sit within me and work through me and guide me and protect me. And so there's a lot of horrible things happening in the world, and there's things happening in Europe, there's things happening in the Middle East, there's even things happening here in the United States, right? But those things are not happening within my field, right? They're not happening in my life directly. And I allow myself to acknowledge these things, and I have compassion. I send love and light energy. I send healing energy to these places. But my role, my goal, my path and purpose is clear. And so I do as I'm guided. Okay? People talk about... So when something, I'm so in the flow that when something like this happens, to draw my attention to it, I mean, it tells me there's something very significant either happening in my consciousness or what I'm sharing, okay? And so what I was going to say next was that there are no timelines. The other thing that comes in is there are no timelines. So when I'm on that boat and I'm seeing all this film going on the walls, these are all possibilities. These aren't realities. I'm sitting in the flow of energy. I'm coalescing my reality in every moment. Okay, I am manifesting, and then it coalesces into my reality in every moment. Okay, so I think I work towards manifesting, and then in this moment, what I worked on manifesting is coalescing. Okay, this video is coalescing in this moment. Everything happening on the sidelines, and that is a possible reality. There are no timelines. Okay, they're possible realities existing within the divine consciousness. Okay, and the example that I give, another example that I give is going on vacation. When I think about, I'm going to go on a vacation, I think about where I want to go, when I want to go, how I'm going to get there, where I'm going to stay, right? But all those things are ideas that I'm working on manifesting. They're not reality yet, okay? So all those ideas would be possible timelines, what people refer to as possible timelines. But really, nothing has coalesced in reality, okay? It's not until I get into the cab to get to the airport. It's not until I get to the airport. It's not until I put my luggage on the plane. It's not until I step on the plane that those things coalesce into reality. Okay? Everything else is a possibility created by the divine consciousness. Okay? And everything is right here. Okay? Everything starts right here. Everything starts right here. Everything starts in this place, in this moment, in the next now moment, and the next now moment. Okay? Everything is right here. It's not in Europe. It's not in the Middle East. For me, it's right here. For you, it's wherever you are. Okay? And we sit from that place and we create from that place. But that creation does not exist until this moment right now. Creating this video was just a thought. What I would do, how I would do it, when I would do it, was just the thought that I was working on manifesting until I sat and started recording. Okay? I hope that makes sense. The other thing that came in this morning was when I was talking about or thinking about the flow of energy, when I had that vision coming in and when I was having that experience happen, I saw Uluru and the dream time. Okay? And the native people, indigenous people of Australia, Uluru is a very sacred place, and I've had many visions about it. And the dream time is a time of, I believe it's creation. It's creation of this world, this existence, from their perspective, right? It can be from our perspective too. I believe it's true for all of us that the dream time is about the divine consciousness creating all things. But that energy came in very strong as I was having that experience with on the boat and the film, and seeing that and having all that information come in about timelines, and there are no timelines, having it come in again. It was the dream time. It's very profound. It was really emotional for me when that came in. It was just, I was in tears and energy flowing through me. I think it's because of that message about timelines, but also because we are in a profound time of creation right now. Even though we don't see it around us, we are in a profound time of creation. And if I may, the construction going on outside, that is this unbalanced energy trying to force creation from their perspective. So they're building these 3D buildings. They're building a lot of stuff to try to force their agenda on the divine consciousness, on us, on creation. But really, it's the dream time. It's the things we can't touch, we can't see. It's the higher realms that we are tapping into that are manifesting our reality and the beauty that is about to come. Okay? I felt very strongly that that's where I need to stop, like very strongly. And so I'm going to stop. Thank you.